Well, hello again. I am thrilled to be here for another day of my money story, and I wanted to leave off where I want to pick up where I left off yesterday, and I was going to share something that I know a few people had a question about, and I had said in my story, if you haven't gone and listened to that, it will give some perspective to why I'm doing these, but and also I have a 10-minute timer going. I have to use my phone today because I can't find my iPad. Oh, technology issues, right? So I'm just going to watch my timer, and when I'm at 10 minutes, I'm going to be done. So I wanted to leave off. So one of the questions that you might be wondering was, have I ever, because one of my lies was that I had heard in my past is that men really don't want their wives to make more money than they do. And so Justin and I have talked about that. And the question is, have I? Have I made more money than my husband? And we kind of joke about this because there's one thing that's like a take-home amount and the other one is like all the things amount, right? And the answer is yes. Yes, I have. I have both made more money than he has in 1 month, and I have also, just in February of this year, surpassed the total amount. However, have I made more money than him in a year? That answer is no, and that's where I would like to be. And it's what's funny about it is it wasn't even really a thing. Like when it happened in February, I mean, it was fine, but we didn't celebrate it. It's not like we even really talked about it. I mean, it wasn't even a thing. And one of the things that I've learned about myself that I don't do very well is I really don't celebrate, because for me, when I sit there and have the realization, to me, because I'm a goal-oriented person, basically it happens when I set the goal. So it happened in real life in February, but to me, it happened months before, right? Like, oh, it already happened. So I've got the goal set. And so anyway, yeah, so yes, and I should pat myself on the back. I mean, I think that's awesome, right? Like one of the things I was afraid of, oh, I'm getting a phone call. One of the things I was afraid of is happened, right? We did it, and it wasn't even a thing. We didn't even really pay attention to it. That's how much not a thing it was, right? So anyway, I really focus more on serving my clients and things like that. But the money is an important part of the business, right? I mean, it takes both to keep moving forward. And I think that is important as well. All right. So today I have a fun thing to talk about. I was thinking about this again this morning, brushing my teeth, right? So I'm reading on page 19, and this is the first chapter of Believe in the Dignity and Morality of Business. Step 1 in the process of increasing your income is to begin wrapping yourself around these two related notions. Number 1, you are in business. And number 2, the occupation of business is moral, noble, and worthy. Now, this is interesting. The view of business is not universally shared. Generally speaking, media, entertainment, and public education in the United States all subtly denigrate business. I'm going to read that again. Generally speaking, media, entertainment, and public education in the United States all subtly denigrate business. All right. So sometimes when I read things like that, I'm like, all right, is that true or not? I mean, let's think about this, right? My kids go to public school. We have excellent schools in my community. And here's the deal. Last week in my daughter's 5th grade class, they all had to come up with a business model, do the marketing, come up with a name and work with a friend to come up with I keep getting text messages, with what they're going to call their business, what they're going to do for their business, how much the business costs. They did a cost analysis. I was totally impressed. It was awesome. And here's the funniest thing. Some of the kids actually started selling their stuff at school, and kids were bringing money and they got in trouble. Now, that's what's interesting, right? You got in trouble, right? Now I understand that. You can't be doing that at school. But on the other hand, isn't that great that these kids were going after it, right? I think that's fantastic. So that's an example in my public school system. I mean, my 5th grade daughter in social studies, they are using the book Mindset. That's one of my very favorite books ever. Are you kidding me? I mean, that's awesome. They're talking about their mindset, especially now with COVID, right? Fantastic. I love that. So there's a place I would say my child is learning about business from school. But you know what's more important is that they're learning it from us, right? I don't farm out all that stuff to the school. I partner with the school to make sure my kids know what they need to know. So that's a thing. I love our school, and I think it's fantastic. So however you choose to educate your children, whether it's at home, publicly, or privately, it doesn't matter. Go for it, parents. Just be great parents, and we're all in this together. All right. Now, media and entertainment. So here's something I would love for you to think about. What is a show, right? When we think about entertainment, right? I am not a huge TV person. Like, I like to listen to books. Like, I'm not a huge TV person. And I have friends who vet all of the streaming services and everything, and then they kind of tell me what to watch, because I'm kind of a sensitive soul when it comes to what I see. I have to be kind of careful. So I was thinking, there are a lot of movies who just bash business, right? The guy who owns the business is a crook. The person on Wall Street is crooked, working all the corners, all that, right? Like there's just this idea of there's nobody good in business. The bosses are bad. They treat women bad. Women don't get opportunity, or if they do, they're absolute B words, right? Like they're bitches, right? Like, so anyway, we've got this whole idea, right, of what media gives us an impression of business. But here's an interesting thought. I wonder if you can think about any shows you've seen that have had a story that's good about business, right? I think Undercover Boss is a really interesting show that uplifts business and also gives both sides, how challenging it can be, but also for every employee that works with you from different facets, their story is different, and they're humans and they need to be seen, and the bosses end up doing some incredible things for those employees. I think that is a very positive show when it comes to business. I think it's great. Another show that I think is interesting that is Schitt's Creek. If you haven't watched it, I don't have to agree with everything that I watch. Like, it doesn't matter to me, but I'm always learning and I'm always looking and watching what's the lesson in this. I haven't watched the whole series, but I've watched a few seasons, and you watch this family, right? They are very wealthy. They have built an empire and of Rose Video, right? Rose Video stores. And then he got swindled. His partner took everything, and they went from uber rich to living in a hotel in this town called Schitt's Creek. That was kind of a joke. They bought it as a joke for their son. Now, the other thing that I think is interesting is this family is a Jewish family, and they talk about that, right? They talk about that in the movie, and I think that's also an interesting thing. If you watch the show as it continues to go on, I love the development of the characters and how do they start emerging to make changes in their life. It's through what? Through business, through the hotel. The son starts a business. He makes a huge difference in the clothing boutique there in town, and it's quirky, it's funny, and it's fascinating to watch. I think it's an amazing study, and I'm not done watching it. I hope I didn't do any spoiler alerts or anything there, but you watch it simply for the story of business. I think it's absolutely fascinating how they become who they're meant to be, and they use their gifts to bless that little town. They become people because of what they're doing. I mean, you just watch that from that lens, and it's a wonderful, wonderful story. It's absolutely wonderful. So I think that's a place in the culture right now that is building up business and lifting it up. And so give that a watch. And I wonder, what programs have you watched? I also think of the show Yellowstone. Now, again, that show is hard for me to watch. I usually watch it with my friends. If I watch it, we watch it in community. I have a very hard time watching it by myself. Some of it's pretty dark. But there is a business they are striving to keep alive through all the changes, many, many changes, both government, with relationships in their community, with tribes, with Indian tribes. Like, it's very complicated, and the characters are complicated. It talks about family and relationships and money and wealth and land and ownership, and it's complicated. But again, it's a place that you see different sides of a story. And again, it's kind of dark and it's complicated. But from a business aspect, for me, a fascinating way to look at life. And so when I get sort of lines like this in the book, I'm like, ooh, I want to kind of play devil's advocate, right? and see what is going on. So I would love to hear what shows, because I think overall there is a subtle denigration of business in the media, but we also do see some places where it's shining brightly, and I think we need to pay attention to those. All right, it's been 10 minutes. Lord, thank you for the ways that you are showing us. I pray that you'd let us see different things of how we can have our eye culturally on the lifting up of business and the people who are doing things right. And also learn from the things out there that we maybe don't want to embrace. But let us look at things perhaps with a different lens. Interrupt our patterns when it comes to money and teach us. Teach us, Lord. I pray that you would do this for us. Just keep teaching us. In your name, amen. Amen. So be it. All right, so maybe you'll go look out there with a different lens today. Have a good one.